For sure. Navy Notre Dame. This is actually a ranked matchup. I'm actually gonna from what I've seen Notre Dame. I've really not been overall impressed with them this year. I'm gonna take Navy to. They played them close last year, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna take Navy in an upset here by 4 over Notre Dame.
Where are they playing?
Uh,
At Notre Dame?
I think so. I'll check that later.
Yeah,
But
I don't know that one either. But if Navy's playing at Notre Dame, then Notre Dame are going to have the edge, even for just being at home. But like you say, Navy's a tough team this year, and I don't think Notre Dame's got quite the talent that they normally have. But it should be a toss-up.
yeah, I was thinking toss-up too. I guess I was feeling upset mood this week with these games.
Maybe it's the weather.
I guess also because with the round 2 of high school playoffs, it's usually an upset round, so I guess maybe that'll come into play for college too. Georgia Auburn. This is number 4 versus number 11. This one really is a toss-up. I know a lot of people are starting to pencil in Georgia being the team that, if they win out, can get in a playoff berth. I can actually see Auburn playing spoiler this week. This is a game that usually can go one way or the other. Both teams look to be pretty solid from what I've seen of them. I'll take Auburn by a field goal here.
Auburn's a tough team, too. You go to Alabama country and play ball, you're going to play some tough teams. So I'll go with you on that one.
Minnesota, Iowa. This one, Minnesota definitely proved they were for real with the win over Penn State last week. Iowa is another team. They're a ranked team. And they always seem to play teams very tough overall. They have pulled upsets in the past over ranked teams. I feel like they're going to play this game close, but Minnesota coming off that win last week and knowing that they really control their own destiny in the Big Ten, I'll pick Minnesota by a 7 here.
I'll go with you. Minnesota looks like they got the momentum. I think they're going to carry it on through this week.
And a pretty big Big 12 matchup, undefeated Baylor versus one-loss Oklahoma. This is probably going to end up being the eventual Big 12 championship as well. I'm going to take Baylor to win this matchup simply because there has been a lot of questions whether or not Baylor belongs in the college football playoff discussion. I feel like they're going to come out motivated. They want to prove they should be considered over like a one-loss Alabama or one-loss Oregon or a one-loss Georgia. I'm going to take Baylor by 10 over Oklahoma.
Just to make it fun, I'll take Oklahoma by 3. Because I think Oklahoma has a good program and they stand to win this game. But it'll be a good one and a close one.
And before we get out of here, we're going to hit some NFL topics. Obviously, the big story that's making the rounds in the past 12 hours, Browns Steelers. Obviously, Browns, they got their first win in a while over Pittsburgh, 21-7. But that's not the story of this game. And I believe, as Baker Mayfield said, this whole incident happened and it took away from their win. It was the whole swinging of the helmet gate over in Cleveland. Towards the end of the game, Myles Garrett yanked off the helmet of quarterback Mason Rudolph, and then yanked his helmet off and swung it at him and hit him in the head, and which instigated a brawl in the final minutes. This is going to obviously be historical for all the wrong reasons, as this is going to be probably one of the steepest fines in NFL history and one of the biggest suspensions in NFL history. I'm not sure. You said you watched into the first half, only through the first half of this game, but but this morning we saw the update with the whole incident. Just what's your overall thoughts with this?
Well, like we were discussing earlier, this, unfortunately for Myles Garrett, is going to define the rest of his career and the rest of his life by being the guy that did that. And as one of the pundits said this morning, I agree with what he said, that no matter if he was the MVP of the Super Bowl helping his team win, he'll still be the guy that snatched off the helmet of Mason Rudolph and hit him with it. So I agree with you. It's going to be a historic fine, and it's going to most likely be the all-time fine and suspension in NFL history. What we were discussing earlier was the last one with Green Bay and
Paul Horning. That was for gambling too. That was a whole year. I can honestly see this being at least a year and a half. So they'll probably end up the rest of this season, and I feel like they'll probably suspend him for all of next year as well.
Well, maybe Garrett can get him a good lawyer and swear that he was just trying to help the NFL with testing of the helmets. How hard do you have to hit somebody?
Well, he's going to need a pretty big lawyer if he takes a suspension like that. He's going to have to try to figure out a way to try to appeal that suspension, because sitting out for basically almost two seasons, that is not. He'll be even if he does manage to get back eventually, he's not going to be the same player being that rusty after basically a 2-year absence.
I know it's gonna be historic, and I mean all eyes are turned to the NFL to see what's going to happen. They first of all have to make a statement, because they're all about player safety and helmets and head concussions, those necks, those kind of injuries, and for somebody to do that, it gives the NFL a black eye. So they're going to have to be, and this is a number one pick too. What's that going to do to the Browns the rest of the season and the start of next year? Because it's certainly got to be a full season. So it'll be the rest of this year and half of next year. And he's probably going to be looking at $250,000 fine probably. And, there was some discussion about, well, he could, file criminal charges. Yeah, he probably could, but that's not the way players do in the NFL. Even in the heat, after it's over and back down, they're still mad about it, but they're not going to be, going after him legally unless, he was injured in some way and could have cost him his career, but no, the NFL is going to be strong on this one here, and that's what's going to be interesting.
Most definitely. And there was also another. The other player that shoved the quarterback from behind afterwards. He's probably gonna get a fine suspension as well.
Yeah, I think just being part of that, he tried to cover himself by saying he was going to help his teammate, but like somebody said, the guy had his helmet off and his back turned and was standing there. How much you just hit him in the back when he wasn't looking, when he wasn't even doing anything.
Yeah, it was just a cheap shot. That's what it was.
Cheap shot, and unfortunately, it embarrasses the Browns organizations, players and coaches. They didn't deserve that yesterday. They were looking forward to a big win, a happy comeback to beating the Steelers. So not a comeback in the points, but just beating them, and they hadn't done that in several games. And to beat them big, I think they were saying after the game, we were going to look forward to this happening.
4 interceptions in that game.
And now it's ruined, And not only that, they're going to lose their number one draft choice.
And they got to play them in 2 weeks in a rematch.
And those are not friendly players.
Yeah, they're going to be going into Pittsburgh. That is going to be. Even though I feel like these two are probably evenly matched, I would not be surprised if Pittsburgh comes out and just shreds Cleveland in 2 weeks. They're going to want payback.
Well, like they say in the Bible, woe unto you if you're the first player that strikes out in the next game. You're liable to be joining Garrett on the sidelines for a good period of time. I bet they'll be watching that game closely.
Another matchups this week that we're still going to get to, Jaguars-Colts in an AFC South battle. I've really been up and down with some of these AFC South teams. They've looked off and on throughout the season. I would take the Jags here by 3. I believe Bortles might be returning this week, actually, so that might be another intriguing factor into this game.
Really?
No, Bortles, not Bortles, my bad. False.
For LA now.
I was wondering what that look.
First I've heard about that.
I was wondering that look you were giving me. Foles.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Foles is a great player, but like you were saying, he might be a little rusty. But of course, that's going to be up to the coaches and how he looks in practice. And you always kind of have to give the first string guy his place back if you can. Look at Greasy and Morrill, but. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. I like the Jaguars. I love their defense. Their secondary is a little thin sometimes, but boy, they are Saxonville with Campbell, and they can really get after you. So if the offense can put something together with the defense, I think the Jaguars, can easily win that game. But again, it's going to come down to mistakes, turnovers, and those kind of things. And if they can stay free of those, Jaguars have a good chance of coming out ahead. But, they got to play 4 quarters, a full 60 minutes if they want to win that game.
For sure. And for those fans that might not be as historically good at, knowledgeable as us, Greasy and Moore, that's a reference to the 72 Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. What do you do when a guy takes you to the Super Bowl, and then the quarterback's ready to come back in and play? I think Sheila did it right. You let the guy play until he looks like he needs some help, and then you send in the cavalry, and that's what they did, and it turned out all right for them. So, I think that's probably the same thing. We're going to see what Foles looks like game time, but I'm sure coaches and Con are going to take a look at him, and if he's ready, he'll play.
Texans versus Ravens. As I was saying earlier with the AFC South, Texans, I could not figure them out. I really thought before the season that this was going to be the Texans team that was going to take that next step. They've been off and on this year. Baltimore has looked pretty good for what I can tell. Obviously they handed the Patriots their first loss of the season. So I'm going to take the Ravens here by 4.
Oh, yeah, I'll take them by 14. I think the Ravens look hot, and I'm like you. I'm not real sure that Houston's going to show up ready to play ball like the Ravens. The Ravens look good beating New England, and they do what you have to do if you want to beat New England. And back in the day when you had to play Peyton Manning, you had to knock him down, and you have to get them where they're looking at the rush and not looking downfield, and then that gives them happy feet. And that's the way you beat those teams, and they did it, and they made it look easy, really.
Speaking of the Patriots, in fact, they're going to face the Philadelphia Eagles this week in what is a Super Bowl 51 rematch. Eagles, I feel like they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but I don't feel like they're like the Super Bowl caliber team they were the last time they faced New England in a matchup like this. I'm going to take New England by 10 here.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the team to have to face Belichick after a miserable loss like he had last week. Yeah. Eagles got their work cut out for them.
Oh, and also, speaking of teams that took losses, 49ers, they lost their first game of the season, which was the end of all the undefeated teams, when they lost in overtime to the Seahawks.
And they look good, too. I was surprised to see them lose. They played well, but unfortunately, the Seahawks came to play ball, too, and they took it right after them. So much for the last undefeated team.
I did feel like that game was going to be pretty close going into it. I did feel like the 49ers were going to get the close win, but I'm not surprised the Seahawks won. They've been pretty strong this year, too.
Yeah, that was a good game. I enjoyed it.
Bears versus Rams. This one, I would feel like if this was last year, this would be a much stronger matchup, but it seems like both teams have kind of had their ups and downs this year. And this is in Los Angeles. I'm going to take the Rams by 14 over the Bears.
I like the Rams. I think they're a team, that needs to put a few things together, but they've slipped, recently. But I don't think the Bears are bringing the talent that the Rams have, and especially at home. So, yeah, I'll go with Rams.
And the Monday night matchup, Kansas City Chiefs versus LA Chargers. Honestly, I don't know what is up with the Chargers. I really thought that this was going to be a pretty strong team for them this year. And I guess Kansas City, you can kind of attribute some of their struggles to Patrick Mahomes being up and down with injuries so far this year. I feel like though Kansas City will do enough to get a touchdown win here. I'm going to go Chiefs by 7.
That sounds like a good call. I like the Chiefs.
All right. And thank you all to our guests, our listeners for joining us in for the 792 podcast today. Obviously, some very good football coming up, not just with college and pro, but also high school football we have with the round 2 games. If your team's still in there, best of luck to you. Hopefully, when we're coming back here for our show next week, your team will still be playing. I'll obviously be checking out Columbia versus Robert E. Lee tonight.